Okay, so let's say you've just committed to the whole home studio thing. You've bought the equipment. You're ready to get going. You want to set it up, but you run into some challenges on that. I'm here to help you out and offer your first 3 fundamentals. What exactly to do? What is most important? By the way, welcome to Home Studio Pro. If this video provides you value, I would love a thumbs up. Also, consider subscribing to this channel for similar content. Okay, what are your first 3 fundamentals? Here we go. Framing, lighting, and audio. And no, by framing, I don't mean like a house. I mean like the actual shot you're looking at. I'm on camera. How do I have this shot framed? The background, where I'm positioned, what else is visible, what's in front of me, what's behind me, to the sides. We'll detail this in just a second, but let me say that framing is about 80% of the visuals. Now, just the visuals, not the entire production value, but framing is a large majority of the visuals. Because if I'm off center or the camera's at a very compromising angle or non-complementary angle, you're going to notice framing is very important. So is lighting. Now, I'm not here to say that you need studio lights like this, the key, the fill, the hair lights, the up lights, the LED lights. Like I've got way too much, obviously, here going on in the home studio. You can get by with just the ambient light of the sun and some shade if you know how to use it. So I'm not saying what you have is most important here. I'm saying knowing how to use it and set up for it, that is the biggest part of lighting. And last, but absolutely not least, audio is a majority of the video's production value. That's right. How it sounds is more important than how it looks, which contradicts most beginners' thinking. Like how you look is most important. Not even what you say or how you say it, but how it sounds. As important as anything else you've got going on as it relates to production value. So let's dive into all 3 of those things in a little bit more detail here. Framing, we're talking about the camera. Focal length. Is the background blurred? In this setting, my home studio, I've opened up the aperture really wide so that the background is a bit blurry, but maybe your camera can or can't do that depending on the style it is or the type of lens you have on there. What's the focal length? The background. How much background do I want to see? Is it busy? Is it distracting? Does it add or subtract to what I'm trying to present here with this material? All things to consider. How about an angle that's too low or an angle that's too high? You've all seen the low angle shot from somebody's laptop, like up their nostrils. Yeah, that's not good here in the Zoom era, but it happens all the time. And sometimes people are looking way too up and you can see the floor in the background. That's also probably not good. Are you too high? Are you too low? The real answer is probably just a little bit above eye level is where you want your camera, and looking down on you ever so slightly might typically be the best way to do it. But again, there's no set rule on this. How it looks is ultimately most important, not exactly what rule you followed to get it done. Now, headroom, there is a certain rule to that. Like if I'm cutting off my head, that's not good. And if my head is too low in the frame here consistently, that's not good either. I'll show you the rule of thirds right after this frame, but I want you to know that how you position yourself in the frame, once it's tilted down or up on you or however you like it, how much headroom you give yourself in the screen. Like this is the headroom right here. That's also very important. Same thing with look space. If I am centered to one side of the screen, if I'm sitting over here, I want to have the majority of the screen be my look space, not over here with my look space. Same thing if I'm over here. This isn't good. That's not enough look space. On my shot here, I'm framed up dead center, so I'm looking right at the camera. But if you're right or left, that's fine. Just make sure you give yourself the appropriate proportion of look space. Okay, and that brings us to that rule of thirds, which answers a lot of the questions and things I was talking about here visually for you. There's the still image of yours truly here in this home studio. And I'm just going to draw tic-tac-toe. There's your rule of thirds. We've got 3 rows, 3 columns horizontally and vertically. And typically the rules are this. You want the subject's face to be on that dividing line between the top and second row, right? So that first line should run somewhere right across my nose or eyes or mouth or whatever. However the shot is framed, it should hit my face somewhere. Now that's for the verticals. In terms of the horizontals, I'm squared center here. But if I were one side or the other, typically want to be, again, have that line run straight down my nose. And then I can be looking to the side of the screen that has more space and not the short side. The long side of the screen is what I want to be looking towards, if hopefully that makes sense. But rule of thirds, if you need a little bit more help on this, look it up. It's one of the fundamentals of video production. Okay, lighting. Now, again, I said you don't need to have all of these studio lights. You can get by in a completely ambient setting. Like I'm talking about the sun and the shade and nothing else. But you can also do it this way too, right? With electricity, with actual lights, instead of relying on Mother Nature. It all depends on the resources that are available to you in the situation. Know what you have, know what's available. I mean, sometimes even a lamp can help you out. They don't have to be studio grade lights. If it produces light, it is likely to be able to help you out. Not necessarily 100% of the time, but I would say most times light is light and it can help if you know how to use it. But again, with lighting, there's also some obvious traps. For example, let's say the sun was setting like right behind me right now. How much light is that blasting from behind me towards that camera lens to basically put me in the witness protection status where you can't even see my face because what light is coming from behind and around to actually light my face so that the camera can pick it up? Think about that. Like there are obvious traps if you don't consider the light or the sun moves or the shade moves or your light's too close or you don't have enough lights. There are obvious traps if you don't know what you're doing or if the conditions change on you. So you always want to be paying attention to that. In lighting, the goal is flattering. I'm not going to lie. You don't want harsh light on somebody. You don't want too much light on somebody. You don't want uplighting to create really weird shadows, like their nose has a shadow up. Like naturally when you see people outside, the sun is hitting them, all the shadows are below their features, their chin line, their jawline, their nose, their eyebrows, below their eyes. That's where the shadows are. But if you light somebody from below, you're going to have weird shadows. That is not flattering. So think about that. And then the last thing here is camera settings. Like there's a give and a take. If I blast myself with light in this home studio, I'm going to have to adjust the camera settings for that. Because if I put the low light settings on and put a high lighting intensity on me, that's not going to be great. So consider your camera settings in conjunction with the lighting setup that you're using. Okay, last, but again, not least, like literally most important, audio. I'm telling you right now, most people can sit through bad video and they will continue to consume that content. Shadows, something out of focus, the color balance is off, whatever. The video, it's blurry, it's hazy, whatever. They'll stick through it if the content is good and if they can hear you. If they can't hear you, they're a lot more likely to tune out. So, is your subject mic'd up? Here in the home studio, I've got the condenser mic. But how about a lavalier mic? How about a handheld mic? How about a headset mic? Is your subject mic'd up? Because this microphone, all the way over there, it's not going to do us any good, right? It's a great mic, but if your subject is not properly mic'd up, what's the use of even trying to record this if you can't hear it? Acoustics. Now, I understand you're not always going to be in a studio caliber situation acoustically, but how can you influence the audio to make it even more listenable? For example, if you have the choice between that big hallway with wood floors and high ceilings, and if you really want to hear something, maybe it sounds better in the small bedroom, right? Maybe the sound isn't bouncing off the walls all over the place. Maybe outside is a much better acoustical situation. Also, as you record or as you live stream, are you using proper levels? Are you peaking? Are you not even into the green? Like, is your audio solo? I really want you to pay attention to the levels as they're coming out. Whether you're live streaming, whether you're recording for later, get the best levels you can so that the end user doesn't have to jack up or quickly turn down the volume because you're way too high peaking or you're way too low and there's not much of a level. Proper mix. If I had music going on in the background, does my mic mix in with the music level? Is the music way too loud for my mic? Is my mic way up here and the music is too low? Is the mix how you want it? And ultimately, most importantly, why do I wear headphones in all these videos? Because I am self-monitoring the audio as I create this content, right? If there's something wrong, I'm going to hear it right now. I'm not going to get through this entire video and realize after the fact when I hit play, oh, I set it too low, or oh, it's scratchy for some reason, or oh, some other, content was playing in the background and I couldn't hear it because I wasn't listening to it as I was doing it. Save yourself a second take. Save yourself from doing a disaster of a live stream. Always self-monitor your audio. So that was a lot. Like that ended up being more than 10 minutes of advice. But those three fundamentals, if you can remember those three things, I know they will greatly help you set up your home studio, come across a lot more professional, especially if you're just getting into this. It can be a little bit intimidating. Cameras, microphones. You're already worried enough about how you're going to come across, what you're going to say, how it's going to look. I know those three first fundamentals are definitely going to up the value of what you create. Good luck.